buckle up because this deep dive, this one's gonna hit hard.
Yeah, it's definitely powerful stuff.
We're looking at this YouTube video. It's called Evergreen. Once upon a time in the face of a harsh reality. And honestly, it's a tough watch.
Yeah.
But it reveals something about the human spirit, especially kids, you know.
It really does. This story, it follows a young girl, Jenny. She's only 8, and she's facing circumstances most of us couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, and it's heavy. The content is heavy. But you're right, it does highlight the resilience of people, the hope we have, even when things are really dark.
Right from the beginning, the video hits you with this stark visual. These massive evergreen trees just towering over this cold, concrete apartment complex.
And that's where we meet Jenny.
It's a powerful metaphor, isn't it?
It really is.
The evergreens, they represent strength, endurance.
This idea of refuge, I guess, from this harsh reality she's living in.
Exactly. And against that backdrop, that's where we see Jenny's spirit really start to shine.
Every day, every single day after school, Jenny's locked out of her own home by her stepfather.
It's hard to even fathom.
I know.
The isolation, the fear a child must feel facing that day after day.
Just rejected constantly.
Yeah.
Not feeling safe in your own home. I mean, that's a form of abuse in itself, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially for someone so young. It's like this message, you're not wanted, you don't matter.
So nowhere else to go. She ends up finding comfort, solace in those evergreens.
They become her sanctuary.
Yeah, a world away from the cruelty she faces at home.
And that's where her imagination takes over. It's not just playing pretend. For her, it's a lifeline.
Imagine being that alone. That terrifies.
She creates a friend, a squirrel named Pip.
Ah.
He stays with her up in the branches of her evergreen.
You know, that really hit me, that detail about Pip. Creating this friend. It says so much about imagination, especially for kids going through trauma.
It's true. It allows them to take control, create some sense of agency in a world where they often feel powerless.
She can't control being locked out, can't control her stepfather.
But she can control this world in her mind, this world with Pip.
And through Pip, she's able to process her fear, her loneliness, the confusion.
It's like this coping mechanism, this incredible coping mechanism.
Helping her navigate a reality no child should have to face.
Gives her some normalcy in the chaos, but even with that, even with her resilience, she's still a child. She still wants her mom's love. She wants to belong.
Every night she waits, just clinging to this belief that maybe, just maybe, tonight will be different.
Her whole internal clock, it becomes attuned to her mother's night shift.
It's just this heartbreaking cycle, this inconsistent caregiving. And kids, they're wired to seek connection. They need adults to meet their needs.
It's that flicker of hope, that tiny flicker that persists, even when they're faced with disappointment again and again.
But night after night, the hope fades. It's replaced by her stepfather. Just this crushing reality.
It's like an emotional roller coaster.
And it takes a toll, a long-term toll.
Oh, absolutely. That constant up and down, that hope and disappointment, it impacts a child's development. You see anxiety, trouble forming attachments, mistrust.
And it's at this moment of despair, when everything just seems unbearable, something strange happens.
The video describes a voice.
Yeah, calling out to Jenny.
From the darkness, it whispers, "Come home, child." It's almost eerie, gave me chills.
Me too. It's so powerful. It's so ambiguous.
It leaves you wondering, is it real? Is she imagining it? Is it something deeper, a metaphor?
I don't know. I kept thinking maybe it's her subconscious, that deep desire to escape the pain.
Maybe. Or maybe it's like an auditory hallucination brought on by all the stress.
Could be. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's her intuition, that urge to go back to what's familiar, even if it's dangerous.
It could even be foreshadowing, hinting at her eventually escaping this toxic environment. It really is open to interpretation.
Whatever it is, it draws Jenny back to her apartment. And just for a moment, a fleeting moment, she lets herself believe maybe her mother is there.
It's tragic, isn't it?
It is.
That even after all that cruelty, she still holds on to hope. It says so much about the strength of the human spirit, especially in a child.
But of course, her hopes are dashed. Again.
No mother's embrace, just her stepfather's rage.
Reality comes crashing down, harder than ever before.
And that reality, it's violence, it's abuse. The video doesn't shy away from how raw it is.
The ripped blankets, the sounds of the blows, the sheer terror.
A child facing unimaginable pain.
It's just this brutal reminder, all those hidden horrors so many kids face within their own homes. You have to ask yourself, what are we doing to protect them? What are we doing to offer them hope, the the support they so desperately need.
That's a question we'll dive into deeper as we go, but for now, let's just sit with this, with the weight of Jenny's story, her strength, her resilience, and how, in so many ways, it's her imagination that keeps her alive. It would be easy to just sink into the despair of this story, but even in the darkness, you see this glimmer, this defiance. It speaks to the strength of kids who are forced to fight to survive.
It's true. She faces that brutality, but she doesn't give up. She goes to her room, but in her mind she goes back to her sanctuary.
Back to the Evergreen, back to Pip.
And that's where we see how deep trauma can go, how it can burrow in. Her safe space, the place she finds comfort. It gets tangled up with the violence.
It shows you just how hard it is to escape abuse, even in your imagination.
There's this detail in the video, it's chilling. The wind through the branches, in her dreams, it almost echoes her fears.
Like the trauma itself, it's in her subconscious now,
Yeah.
shaping her nightmares.
It makes you think the effects of trauma, they last. They go way beyond childhood.
The fear, the anxiety, that feeling of being powerless, it lingers. For years, even decades, it affects their relationships, their self-worth, their whole outlook on life.
Knowing that, how can we understand how important early intervention is? Recognizing the signs, stepping in to help.
It's a crucial message. We have to be vigilant. We have to
Okay.
watch for the signs, the subtle cues that a child might be crying out for help, silently.
Things like changes in behavior, withdrawing from friends, unexplained injuries.
Those can all be red flags, signs that something is terribly wrong.
The video ends with an image it's hard to forget. Jenny, curled up on the floor, battered, bruised, her little body just carrying the weight of all that pain.
It'd be easy to think she's broken. But that's what struck me. Even then, in that despair, she's holding on to something. A sliver of hope. She won't let go of the strength she finds in the Evergreen, in Pip.
In her imagination.
It shows you, even in the darkest times, the human spirit can endure.
There's something so profound about it. The way she clings to that hope. Even when everything else has been ripped away, it feels, a call to action. We have to do something to protect children, to create a world where they feel safe and loved.
The video uses these symbols to convey such complex emotions. The Evergreen, strong and steady, becomes the symbol of resilience. Even in the harshest places, life finds a way.
And Pip, this little imaginary squirrel, he represents imagination itself. That power to find comfort, to feel like you have some control when everything else is overwhelming.
It's like the creators built this whole visual language. It speaks to you, to your heart. You connect with Jenny's story on this deeper level.
An emotional level.
And that's what drives us to act. It stops us from being passive, from ignoring the suffering. It makes us want to make a difference for kids who are hurting, who are trapped.
So let's talk about what we can actually do. What concrete steps can we take to be more aware, to see the needs of children in our communities and our own lives?
Yeah. We need to educate ourselves, learn about the signs of abuse and neglect. There's so much information out there online. Organizations like Child Help USA, RAYN, they have resources, hotlines, guidance on how to recognize and report abuse.
And we need to create safe spaces, places where kids can speak up, share what they're going through without feeling judged.
That starts in our homes, our schools, our communities. We have to build an environment where children feel heard, believed, supported.
And when we see something that seems off, a red flag, we have to act. Reporting suspected abuse, it might be uncomfortable, but it could be the one thing that breaks the cycle, that gives a child a chance at a better life.
Remember, even small acts of kindness can make a difference. A listening ear, a kind word, just showing compassion. Those little things can plant seeds of hope. Remind a child they're not alone.
It's about building awareness, empathy, recognizing that every child deserves to be safe, to be loved. We can't turn a blind eye to suffering. We have to choose to be a light in the darkness.
And I think that's what Jenny's story teaches us. Hope never really dies, even in the face of terrible things. It's up to us to nurture that hope, to be that light for kids who are struggling to find their way out.
It's tough, stories like Jenny's, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, the pain, the injustice of it all. But we can't forget, we're not powerless.
You're right. We can all be that positive force in a child's life. Think about it.
Yeah.
A teacher who sees a student struggling, withdrawing, or a neighbor helping out a parent who's stressed. Even a stranger, just offering a kind word to a kid who looks lost.
Those little things, those connections, they can change a child's whole life.
And sometimes it means pushing for bigger change, supporting those organizations that work to prevent abuse, fighting for policies that help families and communities, speaking out against injustice. It all contributes to creating a world where kids are safe, where they're cared for.
As we wrap up our deep dive into Jenny's story, I want to leave you with this. What can you do right now in your own life to be that source of hope for a child who might be hurting?
It doesn't have to be some grand gesture.
Right.
Even the smallest act of kindness, it can make a world of difference.
Jenny's story, it's not just about the darkness. It's about the strength of the human spirit. It's a reminder that even when things seem hopeless, hope finds a way. And we can all help nurture that hope.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope Jenny's story has touched you, made you think, maybe even inspired you to make a difference. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep believing in the power of hope.
We'll see you then.